Capcom's Blue Bomber is known for his classic 2D platforming adventures. But in 1997, they decided to shake things up. Enter MegaMan Legends, the game that took Mega Man out of his side-scrolling roots and into the third dimension. Did this ambitious PS1 adventure stand the test of time, or was it another relic of the Polygon Wild West? Let's find out. The late 1990s. When gaming companies were stumbling their way into the third dimension like a baby with roller skates strapped to its feet. The jump from 2D to 3D wasn't just about adding depth, it was about reimagining entire worlds. And Mega Man Legends was one of the boldest experiments of its time. When released in 1997, this action-adventure title was Capcom's attempt to bring their beloved Blue Bomber into the third dimension. They did so with a distinct anime-inspired aesthetic that was both playful and ambitious. The game boasts cel-shaded character models that give its cast a cartoonish charm, in stark contrast to the more realistic, gritty designs that were becoming popular in this era. With oversized heads, big expressive eyes, and a colorful world to explore, Mega Man Legends exudes a certain charm that many 3D games of the time struggled to capture. One thing you couldn't help but notice is the world itself. The environments are large and open, full of vibrant color, and interesting nooks and crannies to explore. While the textures might not hold up as well today, some of them look about as crisp as a soggy napkin. The overall presentation is surprisingly cohesive, given the limitations of the PlayStation hardware, that is. The art direction more than makes up for the lack of pixel-perfect detail. The characters are full of life, their animations are expressive, and the cutscenes, although primitive by today's standards, have a certain charm that brings the world to life in a way that feels, well, alive. While it may not have been the first game to use cel shading, it did so years before it became a more recognized technique. Mega Man Legends embraced a vibrant anime-inspired aesthetic that gave characters expressive faces and exaggerated animations. The result? A look that treads into Studio Ghibli territory. Warm, lively, and full of personality. The character designs and their bold, clean shading make cutscenes feel almost like an interactive anime, adding to the game's charm and timeless appeal. Unlike the classic Mega Man and the Mega Man X series, Mega Man Legends takes us into a brand new timeline and setting. Introducing a fresh take on the Mega Man universe, this time we follow Mega Man Volnutt, a digger, a treasure hunter of sorts, who explores ancient ruins in search of priceless artifacts. The game is set in a distant future. Mega Man Legends takes place in a vast post-apocalyptic world where humanity survives on floating islands above a seemingly endless ocean. The game's primary setting, the city of Caskett Island, is home to relic hunters known as diggers, who explore the ruins of ancient civilizations in search of powerful artifacts. The world is rich with mystery and danger as explorers delve into forgotten ruins while avoiding fierce enemies, hostile creatures, and rival factions. The aesthetic blends steampunk and futuristic designs with high-tech cities surrounded by decayed remnants of past civilizations. The tone of the world is one of adventure and discovery, where every corner of the island could have a secret that could change the course of history. Mega Man is accompanied by his adoptive sister, Caskett, a brilliant mechanic with a knack for fixing things, and their lovable grandfather, Caskett, a seasoned adventurer with a heart of gold. Together, the trio embarks on what seems like a routine treasure hunt, but things take a drastic turn when their airship crashes on Caskett Island, setting the stage for the adventures to come. Caskett Island, however, isn't just your average island paradise. It's a place filled with mysteries, danger, and treasure. As the Blue Bomber and his companions try to make sense of the crash, they find themselves entangled with the Bonne family, a gang of quirky and somewhat bumbling sky pirates led by none other than the brilliant and eccentric Bonne siblings. Tron Bonne quickly steals the show and becomes one of the best characters in the game with her mix of mischievousness and determination. Despite being an antagonist, Tron is incredibly likable, and her dedication to her family adds layers to her character. Throughout the game, her antics and interactions with the player provide plenty of humor and warmth, making her one of the most memorable characters in the Mega Man franchise. While the story of Mega Man Legends might seem lighthearted at first, it's surprisingly engaging and filled with depth. Beneath the humor and adventurous tone lies a secret narrative that explores themes of family, loyalty, and discovery. The game does a fantastic job of blending lighthearted moments with more serious undertones, creating an experience that's both fun and emotionally resonant. And let's not forget the game's great voice acting, a standout feature for the PS1 era. While it may not have the polished performances we see in modern games, the voice work in Mega Man Legends fits the tone perfectly, bringing the characters to life in a way that helps the story shine. What sets Mega Man Legends apart from the rest of the franchise is its ability to tell a compelling story while also maintaining the series' signature sense of adventure. The world of Mega Man Legends feels alive with quirky characters, memorable villains, and an engaging plot that keeps players hooked from start to finish. The dynamic between Volnutt, Roll, and Beryl feels genuine, and their journey to uncover the mysteries of Cadillacs Island makes for a thrilling yet heartwarming adventure. Even with the game's more playful, lighthearted tone, there's an undeniable sense of purpose in the story that makes it stand out. Characters are one of the things that makes this game really stand out from similar games that came out around the same time on the original PlayStation and Saturn and other consoles. Characters like MegaMan Volnutt, our hero, an adventurous and kind-hearted digger who's always ready to explore ruins and help those in need. He might be the title character, but let's be honest, his wardrobe is peak 1990s science fiction. Then there's Roll Caskett, Mega Man's best friend and adoptive sister. She's a mechanic and a financial manager because someone has to handle the Zenny. She's smart, she's resourceful, pretty, and pretty much runs the entire operation while Mega Man runs around shooting things. There's Beryl Caskett, the wise and adventurous grandpa of the group. He's got the classic old man who's seen it all vibe, but he's always supportive of Mega Man and Roll's adventures. There's Bonne, the queen of sass and engineering genius, the leader of the Bonne family's robotic army. She's supposed to be a villain, but let's face it, she's way too fun and charming to actually root against. Her older brother, Bonne, he's the over-the-top older brother, head of the Bonne family. His love for dramatic monologues is only rivaled by his ability to lose in the most hilarious of ways. And then there's the youngest of the Bonne siblings, Bonne, a giant baby robot who only says babu. He's technically the youngest Bonne sibling, but don't let that fool you. Then there's the Servbots, tiny cube-headed minions of the Bonne family who are equal parts adorable and completely useless in battle. They're the true MVPs of Mega Man Legends though, no contest. And that's not to say that the rest of the characters on the island of Cadillacs aren't amazing characters in their own right. They may have more generic models, but characters like the detective and the nameless cops and even the mayor all stand out in their own way in the story. But of course, we also can't forget about Mega Man's trusty robotic monkey friend. Data is the character that you go to in the game to save your data. He's actually really important to the plot later on in the game too, even though he may not seem like it at the very beginning. Let's talk about that soundtrack for a moment, because Mega Man Legends takes a much different approach to music than its predecessors. Gone are the high-energy chiptune melodies that define the classic and X series. Instead, Mega Man Legends adopts a more atmospheric and ambient style, one that perfectly complements its 3D world. The Apple Market theme, for instance, instantly transports you back to Cadillacs Island, capturing the bustling, colorful vibe of the town with its cheerful yet calming melodies. It's the kind of tune that sticks with you even after you've turned off the game. And then, when you venture into the ruins, the music takes on a darker, eerier tone, just haunting enough to set the stage for the mysterious, often dangerous environments. It's not just music, it's a part of the experience, drawing you in deeper into the game's world. And of course, we can't forget about the boss battle music. While it may not have the same pulse-pounding energy as Mega Man's iconic Wily Stage 1 theme, the battle themes in Mega Man Legends more than hold their own. They're intense, layered with rising tension, and they get your blood pumping as you face off against the Bonnes, massive Reaver-bots, and other tough enemies. It's the kind of music that amps you up for the action and makes each boss encounter feel like an event. These tracks are bold and dynamic, matching the scale and intensity of the fights they accompany. But music is only part of the soundscape in Mega Man Legends. The game's sound design is equally important in creating a fully immersive experience. The hum of the ancient ruins, the subtle mechanical whirs and clanks, and the eerie sounds of Reaver-bots echoing in the distance all contribute to a world that feels alive and reactive. Every creak and groan of the environment adds to the tension when you're exploring these mysterious spaces, and the robotic beeps and chirps from the Reaver-bots reinforce their mechanical nature. Then, when you fire Mega Man's Buster to explode an enemy, the sound is sharp and satisfying, giving weight to every action and every blast. Now let's not forget about the voice acting. The classic late 90s cheesiness that we can't help but love. While it may not be the most polished or announced voice work compared to what you'd hear in modern games, it certainly gives the characters tons of personality. Every line of dialogue feels heartfelt, whether it's Roll's sweet encouragement or Bonne's exuberant rants. Speaking of which, Bonne's over-the-top villainous speeches are absolutely golden. There's a level of camp and flair to them that makes them a delight to listen to, even if he's not exactly the most threatening villain. It's this quirky, exaggerated style of voice acting that lends charm to Mega Man Legends and helps make the characters feel truly unique in a way that modern games often miss. Let's move on to talking about gameplay. Now here's where Mega Man Legends becomes a bit of a mixed bag. For those who grew up with the convenience of dual analog sticks, this game may feel like stepping back in time to a simpler, though not necessarily smoother era. Released in 1997, Mega Man Legends predated the modern control schemes we take for granted today. Instead of the fluid movement we're used to, the game embraces tank controls. You know, that nostalgic style where forward and backward movement are handled with one button and turning left and right with another. For a lot of players, this setup can feel unintuitive and cumbersome, especially when compared to the more recent standards. However, once you get into the rhythm, it's surprisingly manageable. Moving around dungeons or blasting Reaverbots becomes second nature as you adjust to the limitations of the controls, and they're not as problematic as they may seem at first. It's also important to remember the context in which this game was made. Mega Man Legends hit shelves a full year before The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time in 1998, one of the first games to really define the 3D action-adventure genre, and in many ways set the bar for everything that came after. Both Ocarina of Time and Mega Man Legends are products of the same experimental phase in game development. This was an era when developers were trying to figure out how to take established gameplay formulas and translate them into the new, uncharted territories of the 3D space. The result? Both games share some core similarities like the lock-on targeting systems, but Mega Man Legends doesn't always measure up in terms of fluidity and polish. While Ocarina felt like the industry was starting to figure out 3D controls and design, Mega Man Legends still feels a bit rough around the edges. The lock-on system, for example, is similar to what you'll find in Ocarina of Time, but there's a catch. There's no strafing while locked onto enemies. The camera also auto-swaps to the nearest target, which can make dodging a little clunky. So while combat can be satisfying once you get the hang of it, the lack of precision control can make some encounters feel more frustrating than they need to be. It's a far cry from the more fluid, responsive combat that became the standard in the years following. But here's the thing. While the mechanics might not be as polished, there's a unique charm to Mega Man Legends that helps it stand out. The game takes a more RPG-like approach, with you upgrading weapons and exploring hidden ruins in a quest for treasure and secrets. These elements add a surprising amount of depth, authoring more than just blasting your way through levels. Exploring the world, discovering upgrades, and interacting with its characters gives it a feeling of discovery that many games of its time lack. Sure, it's not as refined as some of its contemporaries, but its ambition is evident. The next topic that I would like to move on to is to talk about the boss fights. The boss fights in Mega Man Legends are, without a doubt, where the game really shines and gives players a sense of just how ambitious the developers were in crafting memorable encounters. Each battle feels like a spectacle in its own right, pushing the boundaries of what the game can do both mechanically and visually. Enemies range from towering mechanical Reaverbots to the relentless, quirky Bonnes. Each encounter brings something fresh to the table, ensuring that the player is never too comfortable in their approach. The variety is the key. Some bosses demand quick reflexes, requiring players to dodge and weave through attacks while keeping up the pressure. These encounters keep you on your toes, with each move feeling like a split-second decision. But bosses aren't just about reflexes. Some will challenge you to think critically and strategically. You'll need to make full use of your weapons and abilities, figuring out weaknesses and exploiting them in creative ways. There's a sense of discovery in these battles, almost like a puzzle that requires you to figure out the right combination of actions to overcome it. As the game progresses, the difficulty ramps up significantly, and the late-game bosses really put your mastery of mechanics to the test. By this point, you'll have upgraded your weapons, refined your combat skills, and explored the world enough to unlock powerful tools and abilities. But that's not enough. These bosses demand more than just brute force. Timing, positioning, and careful planning are all essential if you hope to survive. Some fights require you to juggle multiple tasks at once, dodging multiple projectiles, targeting weak points, and managing your health, all while trying to stay ahead of a constantly evolving threat. It's here that the game's RPG elements come into full play. Upgrades to your weapons and armor feel crucial, and you'll want to make sure your loadout is tailored to the battle at hand. You might find that certain bosses are particularly susceptible to specific weapons you've collected throughout the game, and your ability to adapt and choose the right tools can make the difference between victory and defeat. The variety of weapons in the game's upgrade system give battles an extra layer of depth, ensuring that no two fights feel exactly the same. It's not just about charging in with your blaster, it's about using your brain as much as your trigger finger. And then there's the sheer spectacle of it all. Whether it's a colossal Reaverbot shaking the ground beneath you, or an epic multi-phase fight against the Bonne family, these boss fights are designed to make you feel like you're part of something larger than just a run-of-the-mill battle. The environments, the music, the intensity, it all comes together to create a high-stakes showdown that makes every victory feel earned and memorable. These battles are more than just gameplay challenges. They're some of the most defining moments in the entire game. How long does it take to finish Mega Man Legends? Mega Man Legends offers a solid adventure with a mix of exploration, puzzle solving, and combat. If you're just breezing through the main story, you can expect to finish the game in about 8 to 12 hours. However, if you're a completionist and want to uncover all the secrets, find every upgrade, and complete side quests, you could easily spend 20 plus hours exploring the world. Whether you're aiming for a quick playthrough or a deep dive into the game, Mega Man Legends offers plenty of content to keep you entertained. On to localization. When Mega Man Legends was first released in Japan, it was titled Rockman Dash, with Dash standing for Dynamic Action for the Story of Heroes. The title emphasized the game's action-packed elements and narrative focus. The use of Rockman, the name traditionally used for Mega Man's franchise in Japan, was retained in the title. However, when the game was localized for North America and European audiences, the title was changed to Mega Man Legends. The Legends subtitle was chosen to reflect the game's shift in tone, focusing on storytelling, exploration, and the creation of a new mythos around the character of Mega Man Volnutt and his adventures. The localization process wasn't just about renaming the game. It involved adapting dialogue, character names, and cultural references to make the game more accessible and relatable to Western audiences. For example, some character names were changed to better fit Western expectations, and certain aspects of the game's script were reworked to reflect different humor and dialogue conversations. These changes were necessary to ensure the game felt natural to players who might not have been familiar with the original Japanese context. Another notable difference in the localization was the inclusion of voice acting. While the Japanese version of Rockman Dash featured text-based storytelling, the North American and European releases included fully voiced dialogue, making a significant leap forward in the game's presentation. This added a layer of immersion, which was crucial in helping the game stand out at the time. The development of the game was quite interesting itself. Mega Man Legends was a bold step for Capcom, representing the company's first attempt at bringing the iconic Blue Bomber into a fully 3D world. Development began in the mid-90s at a time when 3D gaming was still in its infancy. Directed by Yoshinori Kawano, the project was a true experiment, as the team had no prior experience working with 3D graphics or mechanics. In many ways, the developers had to invent the rules of 3D game design as they went along, often learning from their mistakes and adapting to the rapidly evolving technology of the time. The project initially began under the working title Mega Man Neo, a name that hints at the team's desire to push the boundaries of what players expected from a Mega Man game. But despite the game's forward-thinking 3D concept, there were moments when the developers seriously considered sticking to the traditional 2D format that the series was known for. In the early stages, Mega Man Legends was envisioned as more of a conventional action game with side-scrolling mechanics, similar to previous Mega Man titles. However, as development progressed, the team started to experiment with RPG elements, integrating deeper exploration, story-driven content, and an open-world structure that had never been seen in a Mega Man game before. The shift in direction from a traditional platformer to an RPG-inspired action-adventure was a bold one. It wasn't an easy transition. The team grappled with the challenge of maintaining the spirit of the Mega Man series while adapting to the mechanics and limitations of 3D. The final project was a hybrid of action, exploration, and puzzle solving with RPG-like mechanics. It also helped carve out a niche for Mega Man Legends in the gaming landscape. The game was a modest commercial success in Japan, but it was in the West that Mega Man Legends fully found its cult following. The unique gameplay, endearing characters, and quirky charm resonated with a new generation of gamers who appreciated its ambitious, experimental nature. After its initial release on the Sony PlayStation in 1997, Mega Man Legends made its way to various platforms over the years, giving a broader audience the chance to experience the Blue Bomber's first full-fledged 3D adventure. One of the more notable ports came in the year 2000 when the game was released on the Nintendo 64 under the title Mega Man 64. The N64 version retained the core gameplay and the same basic design of the original PlayStation release, but did come with a few noticeable drawbacks. Most significantly, the audio quality was compressed to fit within the limitations of the N64's cartridge format, which resulted in a less crisp, lower fidelity sound. While the soundtrack and voice acting were still recognizable, the overall audio experience suffered from the hardware constraints. Additionally, the textures in the N64 version were slightly lower quality compared to the PlayStation original, which was to be expected given the N64's hardware limitations. While Mega Man 64 offered a different way to experience the game, it wasn't quite the same as the original PlayStation release, and many fans noted these shortcomings. Fast forward to 2005, and Mega Man Legends found its way onto a new platform, the Sony PlayStation Portable. This version released exclusively in Japan, and offered an updated presentation with enhanced visuals and a higher resolution than the original. The PSP's hardware allowed for cleaner textures and smoother graphics, breathing new life into the 3D world of Mega Man Legends. Unfortunately, despite the upgrades, this version never saw an official Western release. Fans outside of Japan were left with the original PlayStation version or its various ports, missing out on the chance to play the improved PSP version. Nevertheless, the release was a significant step forward in terms of visual fidelity, showing that Mega Man Legends could hold up visually even in a more modern setting. Finally, in 2009, the original PlayStation version was re-released on the PlayStation Network, offering a new generation of players the chance to experience Mega Man Legends in a convenient digital format. The PSN version allowed fans to enjoy the game on the PlayStation 3, making it accessible to those who had missed out on the original hardware. Though the game's visuals didn't receive a major overhaul in this release, it allowed players to relive the nostalgic 3D adventure without the need for an aging PlayStation console, ensuring that Mega Man Legends remained available for newer generations of gamers. This re-release helped maintain the game's legacy, ensuring its place in the broader Mega Man history. How much can you expect to pay as a collector? Today, the price of a physical copy of Mega Man Legends has steadily risen, especially for complete in-box versions. A well-maintained copy with its original case, manual, and disc can fetch a pretty penny on the secondhand market. While prices fluctuate depending on the condition and seller, it's not uncommon to see a complete copy go for anywhere between $60 to $150, with sealed copies pushing even higher, often breaking the $200 mark as of this video. While Mega Man Legends' price can be intimidating to some, its status as a cult classic means it's a game that holds value both in terms of gameplay and as a collectible. Whether you're a longtime fan or someone looking to get into the Mega Man series, Mega Man Legends has certainly earned its place among the more valuable titles of the PlayStation 1 era. So if you've got a copy laying around in your collection, you might want to hold on to it. You never know when it might go up and be worth even more in the future. In closing, despite its quirks, Mega Man Legends left a lasting impact on gaming. It helped pave the way for future 3D action-adventure titles and showcased how a beloved 2D franchise could successfully transition into the third dimension. The game's charm, world building, and unique mechanics inspired later action RPGs, and its cult following remains strong even today. While Mega Man Legends 3 was tragically cancelled, fans continue to celebrate the series through fan projects, discussions, and replays of the originals. It may not have been the biggest hit in its time, but Mega Man Legends carved out a special place in gaming history and has earned its title as a true legend. See what I did there? Thanks so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this deep dive into Mega Man Legends with me. If you liked the video, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more content. I've got plenty of nostalgic classics coming your way soon. Until next time!